I work for accessABILITY, which is a center for independent living. So centers are nonprofits that are run by people with disabilities, and we provide services, and actually specifically we provide some transition-related services, helping people transition out of institutional settings back into the community, as well as helping transition-age youth who are getting ready to graduate high school, moving on to whatever is going to come next, whether that's employment in the community, additional job training, or school, that type of thing. accessABILITY actually used to be known as IRSL, and I have to remember, Independent Resource Center, or Indianapolis Resource Center for Independent Living. It was formed by a group of self-advocates in 1987, so we're actually celebrating 30 years this year. And it was in the late 2010s, maybe it was 2011, that we changed our name to accessABILITY. We've actually been doing this work with transition for at least the last 5 years that I know of. There's been changes in federal legislation in the last few years, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And as part of that, there was reauthorization for funding for centers for independent living. And as part of that, we had these new services added of transition, with youth transition and institutional transition. We'd already been doing it, but now it became an official core service for our organization. We are completely consumer-driven as an organization, so people have to come to us and request services. We never tell people what their goals should be when they come to us. We listen to them and ask them what they want for their life, and we support them with that. So we often have people who are in nursing home settings who want to transition back out into the community, and they face barriers in being able to make that happen. There are different federal grants and things like that, things like the Money Follows the Person grant that can help people transition out of those institutional settings. A lot of time the issue is they just don't have any money to be able to afford a down payment on an apartment, things like that. The Money Follows the Person grant helps them do that. Those are administered through different organizations. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape around those type of things. So we help make sure that that Money Follows the Person grant money happens like it's supposed to happen. Make sure that any hang-ups that happen in that process get smoothed out as much as possible. Advocate for that person. If the state or the agency that's administering that grant is stating that that person's not eligible for it for any reason, though often they are eligible for it. And the other thing we do is some systems level advocacy with the state, where there's some things happening at the state level that's slowing down or actually making that money stop completely so people can't get out of institutions. So we do a lot with helping people find safe, affordable housing in the community. So that's finding apartments that are at an affordable price range, that are also safe, clean, that type of thing, and meets their needs for their disability. In addition to that institutional transition, we do youth transition. So that's another new core service part of our core service for us. But we had been doing some work with that beforehand. We're now trying to be a little bit more intentional about it. So we do some programs where we travel into area schools and we teach self-advocacy skills to youth to help them. We believe those self-advocacy skills and those self-determination skills are very, very important for their future success. Teaching them how to speak up for themselves and use their voice for what they want in their lives. Also letting them know what's available to them after they graduate high school is part of our services. We also do individual level services with those youth, specifically if they're wanting to find a job. We help to make sure they get connected with the vocational rehabilitation system. There are some major transitions happening with VR right now, which can lead to some hangups as well, and we help make sure that those people we help aren't getting caught up in that. Again, we can help anyone find safe, affordable housing in the community. And we also help people getting connected with waiver services and things like that to provide those community-based services so they don't become at risk of going into an institutional setting. There's definitely still room for improvement when it comes to transition support for youth with disabilities. So one of the things that's talked about a lot at this conference is supported decision making, and that's not knowledge that's general knowledge in this state. Working in schools, talking to teachers, all they know to do is recommend to parents to get guardianship over their children with disabilities as soon as they turn 18, and there's not a knowledge base of these alternative supports that actually give people more freedom and lead to better life outcomes for those folks. There's also the issue of the need for additional waiver services in our state to ensure that there's an adequate level of community-based services so youth do not end up in those institutional settings. One of the unfortunate distinctions that Indiana has is Medicaid has what's called long-term support services funding, and the only state that spends a smaller percentage of its Medicaid dollars on those community-based supportive services than Indiana is Mississippi. That's as of 2014 data from Medicaid. That's the most recent I've been able to see. So the state sees there's problems and they're trying to move to address it, but the state could be moving more quickly to address the shortage of services and the issues in providing those services than the state's done so far.